News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by U&I Furniture. A man was killed in a two-vehicle accident this afternoon. Crash occurred at 1:45 p.m. near 1050 West Valley View Highway, SR 30. Logan City Police Lieutenant Brett Randall said the man was driving a gray Ford Taurus westbound on SR 30 when he drifted across the center lane and into oncoming traffic. The car struck a white Dodge Ram truck that was hauling a trailer loaded with farm equipment.
The driver of the Ford Taurus sustained critical injuries. The fire department extricated him from the vehicle, transported him to Logan Regional Hospital where he succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced deceased.
Investigators suspect the Ford was traveling about 45 miles per hour at the time the impact of the crash peeled the top of the vehicle's roof off. The driver of the truck was not hurt and remained on the scene, cooperating with law enforcement. The identity of the victim was not released pending notification of family.
We want to thank the Logan City Fire Department and the Cache County Sheriff's Office for their help and want to express our condolences to the family and friends of the deceased individual.
A reconstruction team was called in to investigate the crash. Randall said police are not sure what caused the driver of the car to drift into oncoming traffic. The crash closed east and westbound traffic along SR 30 while police investigated and cleared the crash. KBNU News Time is 4:04. KBNU weather, mostly cloudy, rain showers likely, and a chance of thunderstorms tonight. Some thunderstorms may produce heavy rainfall this evening, low around 60. Showers likely, chance of thunderstorms on Wednesday, 70% chance. Again, some of the storms could have heavy rain with them. The high temperature tomorrow in the lower 80s. More showers and storms on tap for Thursday before we start to dry out. 89 has been our high today. It's 87 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by the Duct Hunter. If your clothes dryer isn't drying, it might be the dryer vent. Don't buy new. Call the Duct Hunter. They'll come clean it out for you. 435-770-4813.
Are you a hot sleeper? Warm summer nights can make it hard to sleep. U&I Furniture recommends sleeping cooler with a gel memory foam mattress. U&I features a copper-infused gel memory foam that helps with coolness and circulation. It moves better with you, giving you the best night's sleep. U&I is also the home of Chair Heaven. There's a reason they sell so many chairs, including recliners. For over 90 years, there's always been a better buy at U&I Furniture, downtown Logan.
KBNU News Time is 4:06. The personal finance website Wallet Hub has unveiled its latest report on the best and worst states for health care in 2023. With Americans spending an average of more than $12,900 annually on personal health care, the report aims to identify the states that offer the highest quality services at the most reasonable prices. To determine the rankings, Wallet Hub compared all 50 states and the District of Columbia across 44 key measures of healthcare cost, accessibility, and outcome. Among the states with the best overall healthcare systems, Utah and Idaho stood out as top performers. Utah secured the 5th spot, while Idaho followed closely in the 10th position. Utah's rankings were particularly noteworthy in the following categories: first in outcomes, 13th in cost, and 43rd in access. Meanwhile, Idaho secured the 3rd position in outcomes, 15th in cost, and 37th in access. Zooming in on more specific categories, Utah's performance shown with a first rank in average monthly insurance premiums, 15th in dentist per capita, and 30th in percentage of insured adults. Additionally, the state scored 25th in the percentage of at-risk adults with no routine doctor visit in the past 2 years and stood out as the 3rd lowest in the percentage of adults with no dental visit in the past year. However, one area where Utah showed room for improvement was in the number of hospital beds per capita and physicians per capita, ranking 50th and 47th, respectively. Nevertheless, it excelled by ranking 3rd lowest in stroke and heart disease rates. On the other hand, Idaho impressed with its fourth lowest rank in average monthly insurance premiums, making health care more affordable for its residents. However, Idaho faced challenges in terms of health care accessibility, ranking 50th in hospital beds per capita and 51st in physicians per capita. The state of Wyoming ranked 39th overall, ranking 20th in outcomes, 40th in access, and 50th in cost. And multiple crew members saved a dog after a drift boat overturned and got stuck against a concrete piling at the Snake River Bridge in Idaho. Deputies with Bonneville County Sheriff's Office, along with Swan Valley Fire and Idaho Falls Ambulance, responded to the call Sunday afternoon regarding a capsized drift boat that was pinned against a concrete piling at the Snake River Bridge near Spring Creek. According to reports, the two occupants of the drift boat were thrown during the incident and were later rescued by a Good Samaritan operating another drift boat in the area. However, their dog Finn remained trapped on the capsized boat wearing a life jacket, but caught by his leash wedged between the piling and the boat. Deputies were able to get close enough with the boat to cut the leash and pull Finn safely on board. Deputies said the incident served as a reminder that warm temperatures and nice weather do not necessarily mean that currents and obstacles in the river are easy to navigate. KBNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Breaking news and stimulating talk. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
This is Dr. Landon Karen, board-certified ophthalmologist at Northern Utah Eye Center. Summer is here, and it's time for cooling off in pools and lakes. Swimming with your contacts puts you at risk of serious eye infections, and glasses are frustrating. Ditch those glasses and contacts with LASIK surgery. Northern Utah Eye Center is offering a huge summer special of $1,200 off. If you want to see your best without the hassle, come in now for a free LASIK consult and save $1,200. Call 752-2020 or visit northernutaheyecenter.com.
You're gonna love what you see.
I lived alone and was having problems with my landlord. He's a creep. One night I'm watching TV and I hear my landlord letting himself in. Hey, get out. You can't keep coming in.
I'm just here to fix your fridge and spend some time together.
Get out. I'm reporting you.
Don't make a federal case of it.
A federal case? Sexual harassment in housing is against federal law. If you are harassed, file a complaint with HUD. Go to HUD.gov/fair housing. If you fear for your safety, call 911. Fair housing. The law is on your side. A message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
The United States Deputy Sheriff's Association is a national nonprofit and the largest non-governmental provider of services to law enforcement. The USDSA assists city, county, state, and federal agencies with free safety equipment donations and officer survival training, along with cash donations to families of law enforcement officers who perish in the line of duty, college scholarships for the children of law enforcement, a citizen awareness program, and more. For more information on the USDSA and how you can help, visit usdeputy.org.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you wanna come and text us,
if you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music.
This is Mommy's jam.
Then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
You've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. You have to carefully monitor your health for the rest of your life. And you have an increased risk of developing cardiovascular disease.
Cut. Take two. Action.
You've been diagnosed with a new purpose: to fight for the amazing life you made for yourself. To look that risk of heart disease square in the face and say, no, not me. You've been given a new opportunity to live. Get started at NoDiabetesByHeart.org.
My husband had a gun. Him and his friends would go shooting. When he stored the gun, he didn't know In a million years, we never thought that Emily could. There's a hole in our family that can never, ever be filled.
65 Americans a day die by gun suicide. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn more at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Bees. I'm not sure if I'm on or not.
Yes.
Am I?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't hear me. There we go.
Can you?
Oh, that's weird.
We've had all sorts of weird
welcome to
things
the show
going on.
This is so you get in the habit of how things should go and sound around here, and it was throwing me off. My headphones weren't working. Somebody had partially unplugged them here. It looks like my headphones weren't working, and usually that's something Bill can dial up, and yeah, it just throws you off. I wasn't sure if I was live, and what's the point of talking if you're not on the radio? I'm kidding.
we can talk, at any time, but.
That is, I think that's a famous thing Madonna once said back in the 90s. She said something along the lines of, what's the point of doing anything if it's not being filmed and watched by other people or something like that. But bees, we're going to be talking pollinators later on in the show today. Becky Yeager, a conservation biologist at Utah State University, will be joining us in hour 2 of today's show to talk to us about something you may have noticed at the rest area in Perry. The pet area portion of that rest area has become something entirely different, with inviting signs for you to walk through and also QR codes you can scan with informational, supplemental information that you can download. It is a pollinator garden. This is something UDOT has proposed and invited Utah State University to join in to make it work, a pilot program that, if successful, could be something you see throughout the state of Utah, Idaho, Nevada, Colorado, taking existing space that we're already thinking of changing around with our, quest to use less water, rest stop areas with a lot of open, very sun-exposed turf are going to look different no matter what. And one of the ideas was to take a portion of these and repurpose them, move the pet area to a different location at the rest stop there in Peria, and use the current, or what was the pet area, as what it currently is, a pollinator garden. And the idea being you provide habitat for bees both in summer and winter, and then help stave off their population decline. Something that is concerning biologists, not just here in Utah, but throughout the world. Obviously, without pollinators, we have a lot less food. But not just we. A lot of animals have a lot less food. The ecology changes, and some biologists feel so much so it would become unsustainable, a complete ecological collapse, which would be like the planet being struck by a giant asteroid, what we think happened to the dinosaurs. So this is a big deal, pollinator decline. The hope is that by making some simple changes to the amount of pesticides we use would be a good first step, and also being more conscious of the habitat we're consuming and turning into other things by repurposing as much as we can for bee habitat. You could actually turn this around. It's a really creative thing. It's cool to see. When I was there a little while ago, it sounded like an airport, the number of bees. And the pilot is, well, we've got some preliminary results that Becky will be talking to us about. That's coming up later on in the program to spotlight something that a lot of listeners were asking about. First couple of emails we got, I think, were very confused. What is that? What's going on out there? They saw volunteers planting and plowing and weeding and things like that at a rest stop. And then suddenly, as the months grew warmer, the plants started coming up, these native plants that are just like a chuckarama for bees. Really started to attract the insects. Then the signs went up, and it's drawn a lot of attention. Again, this is a pilot program, but the expectation is that this is something that might go statewide, region-wide, maybe even nationwide through departments of transportation that manage a lot of these rest stops throughout the West especially. So it's a very cool thing, and Becky Yeager, conservation biologist, will be here to talk about it. I'll just throw this out now for those who are interested in that. Also stay tuned next week around this same time because, well, arranging this interview with Becky today, I also managed to cross tracks with our good friend Nate. We'd spoken to him about a year ago. He is one of the people, part of a team of people running the USU Beaver Conservation and Relocation Program. And if you aren't following it, you should be. The Twitter and Instagram account for something called the Beaver Bunker. You heard me right, Beaver Bunker. This is actually a housing facility for beaver. What's happening is beaver that have tried to set up shop in problematic areas who would normally meet a fate of a trap that doesn't make relocation an option, or in some cases a shotgun, predatory animals, dogs, things like that. All of these have been used throughout Utah's history to chase beaver out of places where we don't want them. And let's be honest, sometimes we don't want them a little too often. The mentality on this is changing a bit, thankfully. People are starting to recognize beavers are actually really good for water conservation efforts, for general habitat and health of rivers. So I'm happy to see that mindset change, but that doesn't mean that the occasional beaver might try to set up shop somewhere where it might not be ideal. You might remember there was one trying to do exactly that at the South Logan Walmart several years ago. What a horrible place for a beaver to try to live, right? But the little booger was trying.
It's kind of hard to build a dam in that area.
Well, the way I found out about this program is that beaver disappeared, and I started asking around, and I finally found out that what had happened is they trapped that beaver in a humane way and relocated that beaver. So as far as we know, that beaver is living a very happy life in a far more remote portion of Utah, near a beautiful river where they've been able to, she has been able to start a family, build a giant, beautiful beaver dam, and on top of that, be really good for the beaver and the surrounding wildlife.
And he has stories to tell about his time at Walmart to his kids.
Back in my day, I grew up in a parking lot. This is the coolest program, but they need help. They need volunteers. So, arranging today's interview with Becky Yeager on the pollinator gardens at rest stops in Utah, we actually made arrangements to talk with Nate next week about the Beaver Bunker and, you heard me right, the volunteer opportunities that exist. Everything from helping to clean the pens to inspecting and monitoring the animals to even going out with them on relocation trips as a volunteer. They're hoping to get some sign-ups. So we'll talk about it all in the coming days. But again, Becky Yeager joining us today to talk about the pollinator gardens that you may have been, a little confused by at rest stops here in Utah, where they're coming from, what the purpose is, and where the idea came from. Very cool stuff. So on the other side, the Cache County Recorder's Office today implemented a new service similar to something we talked about last week with the state auditor unveiling the property tax and property value assessment tool through the state auditor's office, a way to sort of double check assessments that are done at the county level using county data. You can understand a lot more about assessments, why they were what they were, why they go up and down, all of that. And in conjunction with that, here in Cache County, the county recorder's office launched today Property Watch. What is it and why you should care? We'll talk about it right after this.
Preston Golf and Country Club is now taking entries for the Preston City Amateur on August 4th and 5th. You may pick your tee time on Friday. Saturday, you will be paired within your flight by score, with best scores going out last. The entry fee for the event, $76, not including cart. There will be hole prizes on every hole both days of the event. To register, please contact the Pro Shop. Schedule your Friday tee time. Call now to get your preferred tee time. Call 208-852-2408.
We are there in your community. Small business owners, mechanics, police officers, homemakers. And we are there serving our nation in the Air Force Reserve. When medical emergencies arise, we meet the challenge. In cybersecurity, protecting and defending in cyberspace. When natural disasters happen, we are there in space. As a strong part of the nation's defense, we are there in the community, and we are there for our nation. We share a vision to make a difference, united and focused, taking pride in being there in service of our country. We are Reserve Citizen Airmen, and we are there with over 180 different jobs to serve your country. Air Force Reserve.
KVN News for the people. A new tool launched today by the County Recorder's Office. I'm pretty excited about this. A couple of qualifiers on this. One, title fraud is a thing. Two, here in Cache County at least, it is extremely rare. Almost doesn't happen other than a case or two in the last several decades. But it is something that happens, and the problem with title fraud is that once it does happen to a person, it's really difficult, oftentimes very expensive, attorney fees, expensive, to fix. What is title fraud? A quick explanation. One example given in the CacheValleyDaily.com story from the County Recorder's Office was given by Devin Anderson, the County Recorder himself, and he said, an example of a title fraud that happens, a lot more in other areas than here, of course, is that someone submits fraudulent paperwork claiming ownership of your land, basically, something you could easily prove in court was fraudulent and not lose your property. But unfortunately, that will probably take so long, or even take so long for you to know that this fraud has happened, that by then they've actually used your land as equity to take out loans, and they've skedaddled. You are left to sort out the mess. You'll be able to sort out the mess, but it will cost you money and time, to say the least. In some cases, though, title fraud has gone even further. There are some cases, again, not from here in Utah that I've found at least, but some cases where title fraud has led to a person losing their property. It's amazing to think that that could happen. Shouldn't be able to happen, but in very rare cases, it actually can. So you've seen these commercial services, and part of the heightened interest in this, I think, is probably because of the prevalence of the advertising of these commercial services. Because again, title fraud is extremely rare, but it does happen. And these commercial services, these programs run by private companies, make money off of, well, sort of similar to if you've ever paid for a service that watches and protects your credit, where you'll get an alert if somebody submits a credit card application in your name, something like that, or you even get some of them notices when somebody checks your credit, which is also included in your credit score, the number of checks. So those are useful services. It's similar to that, these commercial services that provide sort of a property protection along the same lines. They let you know if a change of any kind was submitted to your local county recorder's office involving your property. As Anderson said, too, sadly, sometimes title fraud can be perpetrated by a person who's gained the trust of, sadly, sometimes elderly family members. That's another form of title fraud. So just some examples there, and what the county recorder has done is launch something basically the same thing as these subscription fee-based commercial programs that run a lot like the credit protection companies you pay for. But through the county recorder's office, Anderson said, we decided this was something here in Cache County we should offer for free. So the way this works basically is the county recorder's office records and maintains the land record documents pertaining to the title and quote, real property of Cache County. And through this Property Watch program that they just launched, it went live today, they will actually notify you if there is any submitted paperwork changing your title in any way. Now, of course, they'll notify you if you do it, which is good, because then you'd know that they're done with the change request. But more importantly, they'll notify you if someone else tries to do it. If someone submits paperwork just claiming you sold the land to them, or that they have, through inheritance, become the owner of your land, you would be notified through the Property Watch program when a document is recorded against your parcel, at which point, much more quickly, you can contact the county and say, ooh, that wasn't me. It's very easy to sign up. Basically, you need the tax ID number that comes on your property tax, your name, and first and last name, and then that's it. You fill this information out, provide an email address there, and then you're signed up. It's a free service, and again, it will let you know if any paperwork has been recorded by the Clerk County Recorder's Office involving your land, the property you own. So if someone else submits a claim, submits a fraudulent title change, anything like that, you'd know a lot sooner. Again, one of the most common, though it's not common at all, but one of the most common versions of title fraud is submitting a change of title paperwork with the county recorder's office, knowing, eventually that's probably going to get discovered and found out and determined fraudulent. But by then, these entities or individuals with no moral qualms about doing this have taken out a huge equity loan, basically with your property as collateral. They've taken the money and run, and you're left to sort the mess out. You'll be able to sort it out, but it will cost you thousands of dollars getting an attorney to help you get through that process. So the Cache County Property Watch program is now live. This is a great tool. I love seeing the county get creative like this. I hope there's more of it to come. And you can sign up at cachecounty.org/recorder/property watch. I've linked to that on our Facebook page. Also, check out the full story on where this idea came from and how it took, what the county had to do to set the program up at the CacheValleyDaily.com story. I've also linked to on the Facebook page. And we'll be back after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:31, and the news is brought to you by Maple Creek Ranch. Well, the Cache County Recorder's Office will implement a new service called Property Watch. As of today, that service is out. Devron Anderson, the Cache County Recorder, explained Cache County Property Watch is a free service provided by the Recorder's Office, which informs property owners or those who have a valid interest in a property about any document that gets recorded against their property. An email notification will automatically be sent to you the minute that the Recorder's Office has processed the document and verified that the document affects the property. Anderson acknowledges that Property Watch is similar to commercial programs that advertise protection for your equity and title for a monthly fee. The difference is the county's service will be free and will probably operate faster than those commercial programs. County residents will be able to sign up for Property Watch by going to the county recorder's website at cachecounty.org/recorder. The only information required for enrollment in the service will be the property owner's name, physical address, and a valid email address. The goal of the Property Watch program is to help protect county residents against title fraud, also commonly known as property theft, deed fraud, or house stealing. Overstock has officially relaunched the Bed Bath & Beyond site online as of today in the U.S. after acquiring the bankrupt retail chain's intellectual property assets for $21.5 million. The online retailer Overstock.com said in late June that it was dumping its name online and it will become Bed Bath & Beyond, which declared bankruptcy earlier this year. The change was made in Canada in July, but at the time, a date for the U.S. relaunch was not announced. Overstock.com CEO Jonathan Johnson told the Associated Press in a phone interview last week that the company has still not made any decisions on a corporate name. Overstock.com is a Midvale, Utah-based company. And Pac-12 leaders were presented details of a long-awaited media rights deal today by the commissioner, George Kliavkoff. A person familiar with the situation told the Associated Press the meeting concluded without voting on whether to accept the terms by the 9 remaining Pac-12 schools. The person spoke on the condition of anonymity because the Pac-12 was not making its internal discussions public and gave no further details about prospective network or streaming partners, nor the value. The meeting comes just days after Colorado decided not to wait and see what Kliavkoff could deliver and announced it would rejoin the Big 12 in 2024. Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark has been blunt about the conference's desire to expand west, with Pac-12 schools as obvious expansion targets. Arizona has been considered the most likely to jump, along with Arizona State and Utah. KVNU News Time is 4:34. KVNU weather for tonight. We have a pretty good chance of rain showers and a chance of thunderstorms tonight. 60% chance. Some storms may produce heavy rain this evening. Rain showers likely, chance of thunder on Wednesday. Again, some heavy showers possible. High temperature tomorrow in the low 80s. 70% chance Wednesday night, 80% chance of showers on Thursday. And then we kind of dry out for the weekend. In fact, looking ahead to Friday, sunny and mid-80s for the high. It's been to 89. It's 87 right now at KVNU. One of the most beautiful places to build a home in Cache Valley, Maple Creek Ranch. National Forest, hiking trails, and streams right out your backyard. The final phase of development is available now. Go to maplecreek.net for more information. You can always get more news at cachevalleydaily.com. We'll check Wall Street on the way after this ABC update.
Former President Trump has been summoned to appear in federal court in Washington, D.C. Thursday. That's when he's expected to answer to an indictment a grand jury handed up today, accusing him of trying to overturn the 2020 election. ABC's Pierre Thomas on the counts.
United States of America versus Donald Trump. Conspiracy to defraud the United States government. Conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Obstruction and attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights.
ABC's legal analyst Dan Abrams on one of the charges.
Conspiracy against the right to vote and have one's vote counted. That's more of a catch-all one, where it's been used a number of times in the 20th century, which is interesting that it's about voter fraud. It's about basically saying, you know, in other cases where people were stuffing ballots, et cetera, and saying that deprived everyone else of the right to have the votes counted fairly.
Daria Albinger, ABC News.
This is financial advisor Clayton McMurdy from Edward Jones bringing you the closing financial market report for August 1st. The markets closed modestly lower after a sharp rally in the month of July. The technology-heavy NASDAQ lagged both the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. Nonetheless, the NASDAQ remains higher by over 36% year-to-date. Investors are awaiting earnings reports this week from two major large-cap technology firms, Apple and Amazon. In addition, markets will digest jobs data this week with reports on Wednesday and Friday. All eyes will likely remain on the wage growth figure, a key driver of services inflation. Yields were also higher adding some downward pressure to stocks and bonds as well. The 10-year Treasury yield is back above 4%, approaching its high for the year of 4.08%. In equities today, the Dow closed up 71 points at 35,631. The Nasdaq closed down 62 points at 14,284, and the S&P closed down 12 points at 4,577. In bond markets, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 4.04%, and in commodity markets, the price of crude oil was flat at $81.72, and the spot price of gold was down $27.40 at $1,981.80. This has been today's closing financial market report, brought to you by Clayton McMurdy of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and long-term financial advice at 1309 North Main Street in Logan. If you'd like any additional information, please contact us at 435-753-0537, or feel free to stop by any of our 7 branches here in Cache Valley. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
The Aggies are returning home. Beginning this season, USU football and basketball will be back on KVNU.
Touchdown, Utah State!
Listen to every game, static-free at 102 FM, 610 AM, and online at kvnutalk.com or the KVNU mobile app.
It's recovered by Utah State, and the Aggies get the touchdown.
The season begins September 2nd when Utah State travels to Iowa to face the Hawkeyes. Join us in welcoming the Aggies back to KVNU, the home again for the Aggies.
Quick little plug because of a pleasant. Well, I'll just put it this way: someone here in the valley selling hay went above and beyond for a relative of mine, and if you're looking for some cheap small bale hay, they've got a lot of hay to move. So find yourself Houston Galtier out in Mendon. It was one of those things where it's really cool to see people in Cache Valley going above and beyond for each other, and this happened to be a relative of mine. Is how I heard the story and got involved myself. But yeah, just nice people here in Cache Valley. But yeah, buy your hay from Houston if you need any. A little plug there. Speaking of plugs, I want to hear from listeners on this because it's been a long time and the roadways have changed here in Cache Valley, but it's been a really long time, actually. I think it was several years ago the last time I threw this question out. I used to throw it out on about a monthly basis, but roads have changed. There's a lot of construction keeping things down. So I also want to hear your plug for best routes at different times of day because I made a discovery. I made 2 different discoveries today. Coming from the north back into Logan and one coming from the south back into Logan in the afternoon. Man, these side streets have gotten nice. Between now, there are some bottlenecks. The things going on there on 14th North, still kind of slowing things down. 10th North, I don't know why anyone is on that road between heading east or west on 10th North between 3 o'clock and say 7, maybe 6. I don't bother. So there are still bottlenecks, but I'm talking the north to south thoroughfares, and I'm talking from Smithfield back into Logan. I'm talking from south end of the valley to the Providence area to back into Logan. These, I think I underestimated how much these first and second east routes were going to take pressure off of Main Street. Now, I don't know if I haven't counted cars. I don't know if it's noticeable on Main Street. I try to avoid Main Street at the certain times of day. One of those, as Bill, as you well know, one of the worst times on Main Street happens to be right as I need to get here for the show, which oftentimes has me pushing it till the last minute.
It's kind of like people get a text that says, "Hey, Jason's running late.
He's running a little late today.
Let's all get out on the road."
He has to be there at 4. It's not optional. And, so they all pile up in front of me. George Carlin had a name for those groups. I can't repeat it here on air, but it made me laugh every time I heard it. This is really, though, I haven't noticed it on Main Street. I don't know if Main Street is any better. The times that I'm on Main Street, it looks about the same to me. But I am on Main Street at a time when I'm on Main Street at a time when it's just regular traffic that I assume isn't going to be as lightened by these alternate routes. But I do know, just travel time coming into Logan and heading out of Logan and coming back into Logan, heading out of Logan on north and south routes both, they seem to have made a big difference. The second easts and the first and second wests. I know 10th West has been. Do you remember pre-10th West, Bill? It was when 10th West was a little 2-lane road.
Yeah, it was 2 lanes in some areas, and then I think it would be
signs.
4 lanes, and
stop signs, not stop lights, and
it's like a major highway now. It is a state route.
It is as packed as the freeway most times of day. Now, there's a lot that can be said about. I'll be honest with you, Cache Valley. I don't think we're doing our due diligence on reducing driving. I don't see it. I think that we have just kind of tossed that one out the window, and I don't think we should. But I get it. We need. Personally, I think the state needs to get serious about investing a bit more in the public transit, which will make it easier for the counties to do so. And so you could CVTD is amazing, to be honest with you, especially when you consider what they're working with. What they do is amazing, and that loop off of campus is saving so many cars on the roads. But the problem is it's the whole proving a positive thing, right? We avoided X. It's hard to illustrate that for people. I think Cache Valley Transit District has really avoided a lot of additional traffic on Main Street, considering the growth that's happened, considering the number of students that come back for 9 months every year. Just that loop route alone, I think, has taken a lot of cars out of downtown on the weekends. But again, you can't. It's hard to quantify that kind of thing because you're proving a positive. You're saying we avoided that traffic, and that's something you can't show people a picture of cars you avoided. So I do think that they're doing an amazing job, and I think it would be noticeable if we paid more attention. But I also think until you get something a little more robust, you're not going to be. There are two things that are going to get Cache Valley residents out of their one person in a car lifestyle, making multiple trips around for. We're not even. I see this in my own family, my friend groups, and even myself sometimes. We're not even trying to consolidate. If we need something, we hop in, because everything's close, right? And it doesn't take very long. You need something, you hop in the car and you go get it. You get home, you forgot something, you hop back in the car, you can go get it. We're not doing everything we could to reduce the number of cars on the road. That's my only point there, myself included. Not getting on a high horse here. But hey, I'll be honest with you, until I have, because of the nature of what my day job is, public transit doesn't work for me right now. Although I have toyed with a couple of times. I've had work in Salt Lake in downtown, and the weather's been nice, and I haven't been rushed. And I've, instead of driving to Salt Lake, driven to the 24th Street Frontrunner stop. Worked on the train down. It's about a 50-minute ride to the North Temple stop there. Or you can go to the Transit Center one stop further down, and both of them, just a few blocks from downtown, City Creek, all of that. It's a nice walk. It's not even really uphill. I think it's technically uphill, but it's really easy to do. And if I had just one appointment, I preferred that because I can work on the train down, work on the train back, and I don't have to drive further south than 24th Street in my own vehicle. I don't have to go through that Roy area. That which to me is just, it's like a pinball game driving through Roy these days. And then they throw a little messy construction in there every summer just for fun.
I get scared whenever I'm on Riverdale Road because it is so busy, and there are streets that come at you at an angle. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
Riverdale Road
old
was,
or something.
Riverdale Road was one of the top roads for accidents in Utah for multiple years in a row. You know what beat it, though? What beat Riverdale Road for number of fender benders in the average day throughout a year? Logan City Main Street. From 10th North to, I think it was 18th North. That stretch beat Riverdale Road for fender bender accidents on a daily basis for a year.
And I think it probably doesn't carry quite as much traffic as Riverdale. Maybe it does. I don't know. I mean, Riverdale's in a larger metro area.
I honestly don't know. I believe they were looking at comparable roads, but I'll have to double check that. It's just, honestly, it's just the traffic is. I guess this is my point. The traffic is going to be what it is. I don't think that. I don't think that you can. I don't think that you can count on there being a solution that doesn't involve all of us changing. We'll put it that way. And I don't think anything's going to change us until, here are the two things. More robust public transit that makes it more convenient for people to use it on a daily basis. And that's not faulting CVTD. Again, I think what they do with what they are able to get from the state and the county, amazing things. But I think it's going to take a lot more. And the state's waking up to that, thankfully, finally. But gone are the days when you had people just arguing against the existence of public transit in Utah House debates. Those days are thankfully gone. Now it's just a debate over how much should be spent on it, and that's progress. Slow, but still progress. Until that changes, I think people are going to stay in their cars, one person per car, all of us lined up at stoplights. But have you ever stopped and thought about this? Complete tangent. Have you ever? It's such a way of life. We don't think about this, but have you ever thought about how ridiculous we would all look to like an alien? You know, someone comes down, some entity comes down. They're just watching, and we're just riding around these little metal boxes, all alone, one in each one, driving oftentimes walkable distances, spending most of our time stopped, not actually driving. Most of our time at stoplights. And then parking lots. Have you ever thought about this? Huge swaths of land in every city reserved for us to park our metal boxes that we ride around in solo all day long, so that we can then have less walking to get to a place we want to go for lunch or something. It's actually...
They would say in their alien communication how inefficient
this
that
is. Very odd and inefficient. It is. I mean, it's an extremely strange thing, but the problem is... no one can really, few can really afford to be the first one to kind of break out of it because your job requires certain transportation. Now, admittedly, all of us could be more creative in various ways. I guarantee I've taken at least one trip in the last 7 days that could have been on a CVTD bus with just a modicum of planning or downloading an app on my part. Well, actually, I do have the app. Also, it is, without a doubt... it could be, for most of us, possible to, at very least, reduce our trips in cars every day. I know I could do that. So again, my point here is that it's going to take public transit that is a little more robust than it currently is to get a lot more of us out of cars. And I think a combination, traffic getting so bad that we actually start exploring those alternatives. And so what that says right now is, you look at the number of cars on the road, we're okay with this. We complain, we gripe, we don't like it. We talk about how long it took us to get from point A to point B at this time of day as opposed to that time of day. But the fact is, we're not exploring alternatives. We're not downloading the CVTD app and building a bus route that we could use more often than not, all of us. We're not doing those things, at least in huge numbers. So again, my point here is not to criticize public transit or to criticize anyone, any official, elected official, or even planning organization. My point here is just that we are okay with it. So I don't know. It always fascinates me how much we'll put up with and how we acclimate I've talked about this many times on this show. The myth, absolute myth about the frog in boiling water, it's not true. The frog will jump out of the boiling water. I don't even know where that came from. I used to know the story on
it must have been just an odd toad or something. That did not.
Yeah, I don't know. The frog will jump out when the water gets too warm. It's just the thing that happens. But survival instinct. But we're not too. It's not hot enough for us yet when it comes to our driving habits and our travel habits. We're okay with this. We're okay with the amount of traffic. We're okay with how long it takes. We're okay with how much of our lives we've spent. The one thing about public transit as opposed to sitting at a stoplight in your car, which if you calculate, there's an app that'll let you do this, by the way. If you want to see how much of your day is spent sitting in a car on a road, not even moving, there's an app that will actually calculate it based on your GPS stops and starts, and when it assumes based on your speed you're not walking or biking because you're moving as fast as a car would let you, and it will show you, and you'd be shocked. Hours a day for some people spent, you're just sitting in your car waiting for a light to change colors, which sounds ridiculous described that way, right? Yet here we are all doing it every day. At least on public transit, you can look at your phone. As I mentioned, when I've taken Front Runner to Salt Lake, which I kind of do for fun, I like trains, and the places, the clients I had to meet in Salt Lake, it was walking distance from the train stop. I didn't even have to get on tracks to go east-west off of the Front Runner line. That's very convenient. It was fun, and I plan to do it more often when I get the chance. But being able to work on the commute, my work day that day was 6 hours. Because I was able to work on the commute as opposed to just driving down to Salt Lake and then driving back later in the afternoon, which would have, my day was looking to be closer to about 10, 12 hours with the drive time. I had a 6-hour workday because I was able to get so much work done on the train while someone else did the driving. It's hard to say no to that kind of thing. I don't know why anyone would. And so the reason is, again, at least maybe it's just in our minds. Maybe it's just our habits. Maybe in some cases there's a specific amount of freedom that comes with driving your own vehicle that on this day or that day you need. I get it, especially new parents. New parents, I think, get a total pass. If your child is under the age of 5, in fact, you get a total pass. Use public transit if you can. Hats off to you. If I had children under 5, you wouldn't catch me anywhere near. I don't know how you could plan that. Children are so unpredictable, and the things they do are so unpredictable. And parents can tell you how many times they've been, to an emergency room to have a crayon removed and things like that. So I get it. As a parent, I get, especially if your child's under 5, maybe that car is just going to make you feel better when you're out and about. That you can adapt to an emergency easier. I get it. But the rest of us, honestly, we have to admit, we are just okay with spending so much of our day doing some of these ridiculous things behind the wheel of a car, spending a lot of time staring at a light, waiting for it to change colors, spending a lot of time looking for a place to put our little metal boxes so that we can walk into the store to get what we needed to get. As we wait for the Cache Valley Transit bus that actually pulls up to the entrance and then drives off. We're choosing this. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying let's admit it. What do you think? 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
Dr. Josh Redd, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
If you have low thyroid and you're taking thyroid medication, the biggest question you should ask yourself is what's causing my low thyroid specifically? If you don't know the answer to that question, it's important to call us. At Red River, we identify triggers that will cause the low thyroid to begin with. One of the most common causes of low thyroid is a disease called Hashimoto's disease. This is an autoimmune disease that is a lot more complicated than just a primary thyroid issue. This is why people will be on thyroid hormone but still feel little to no improvement because nothing's being done to address the bigger, more complicated problem, which is Hashimoto's. If you have low thyroid or you have an autoimmune disease and you're on medication and still don't feel well, call Red River.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
The landscaping season is now in full swing, and Canyon Landscaping is still booking for this season. For over 2 decades, Canyon Landscaping has been Cache Valley's leader of new and existing home landscaping projects. Spots are filling fast, so don't wait any longer for your outdoor living to become an extension of your home. To get your project going, request an appointment online at canyonlandscaping.com or call 752-3838. Let's get started on your yard. 752-3838. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Just a really quick update. We spoke with representatives of Do It for Dawson last week, the 3-on-3 basketball tournament coming up this Saturday at Mountain Crest. Listener had inquired, just having heard that interview on our podcast, I guess today, listener inquired if this was still a thing. Registration closed July 28th, but I do know when I spoke with them that there are openings. So, but you'll have to make arrangements directly. What I would recommend is on Facebook, find Do It for Dawson 3v3. I've linked to that on our own Facebook page if you want to scroll down a few days there and find it there. And there's a phone number there. You can contact them directly and inquire about still getting registered for that. If you're not able to register, there are other ways you can support just by showing up and being a part of the audience to cheer for the teams as they take each other on, all different age brackets. You can also donate directly to the Do It for Dawson 3v3 community. And that money, of course, this year is going towards a bunch of different things, primary children's and more. So, yeah, the easiest thing to do, again, is find the Facebook page, Do It for Dawson 3v3. And that 3-on-3 basketball tournament is coming up this Saturday, actually, at Mountain Crest High School. Everything getting underway, as I understand it, fairly early in the morning. I think 11:30 is when, I think 8:30 is when things start. And I know halftime for the first set of competitions is 11:30, I think. So they'll have contests there as well. 3v3 community basketball tournament. Do It for Dawson Facebook page, linked on our own. And we'll be back with Hour 2. We're going to be talking about pollinator gardens.